Okay, folks. Hey, welcome on in here. Um, the clock on my phone here says noon. My computer clock is a little earlier, but I think we'll go ahead and get started now. Uh, Welcome. My name is Jim. I'm coming to you live on an overcast and cool day here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about the end of year process in the accounting module in version 19 of Church Windows. We're going to spend maybe the next 20 minutes or so talking about a couple of different topics involving end of year in the accounting module. Before we get started on that, however, I want to talk about your go-to webinar control panel that y'all should have on your screen right now. It's got a little red button in the upper left-hand corner, probably with a little arrow on it, that you can click on to either minimize or maximize that GoToWebinar control panel. Minimizing it opens up a little more room so you can see what we're talking about here on the screen. Maximizing it allows you to get access to the different features of that control panel. Probably most importantly, the questions section. I'm joined here today by Josh. He'll be manning the questions if you have any as we go through our presentation here today. If you could please limit them just to the topic at hand, which is specifically the end of year process in the accounting module. If you have questions about either other parts of the program or sort of specific situations with your church, feel free to go ahead and give us a call into our support line number, which is at the 800 533 5227. We got a bunch of support technicians here. Be glad to help you out with any questions that you might have. All of that being said, let's go ahead and talk now about running the end of year procedure in the accounting module. So first, I'm going to go ahead and launch accounting by clicking here. And here we are. So when you're in your accounting module, when you first launch the program, you're going to be on what's called your opening image map. And above that, it's going to show you the fiscal or calendar year that you are in. We've got our 2016 year that we're running right now. Now, the end of year procedure here in the accounting module can be run at any time. As soon as we're done with our presentation today, if you guys choose to, you can go into Church Windows and open up your 2017 year in the same way that I'm going to do it in our presentation here today. Just opening up next year does not lock you out of being able to work in the 2016 year. And in fact, there are benefits to opening up 2017 right now. Probably most specifically, I suppose, it's so that you can go in there and work on your budgets for next year. So we're going to talk about those topics here. We're going to go ahead and open up our 2017 year, pardon me. And then we're going to talk about doing some budgeting things. So the process for running our end of year procedure. The first thing we always recommend that you do, and actually I made a little gaffe here because we didn't want to open up accounting yet. Because the first thing we always recommend that you do prior to doing any major feature such as running end of year is to run a quick backup of your data. So backing up your data is done from your opening screen in the, we call this the portal in the Church Windows program by going to your administration button and clicking on backup. That takes you to this backup data window. In the upper left-hand corner, it asks you what you wish to back up. I'm going to go ahead and select everything. You could select accounting only if that's the only part of it you're concerned about, but it certainly doesn't hurt anything to back everything up. And that's what I'm going to do here. Below that, it's got a backup to selection here. You can click your browse button here if you have for example, a USB drive, or some folks call them a thumb drive you want to run your backup to. You can go ahead and browse to that here. But I'm going to go ahead and back it up to the desktop. Just click, once you've selected what you're backing up, where you are backing it up to, you click your Start Backup button here. It's going to go through its process. You're going to notice we already have a backup up here on our desktop screen here. So it's going to tell us that we already have one that was created earlier and whether you want to overwrite it. It'll say, do you want to delete the file? But what it's going to do is it will delete this, but it's going to replace it with a new backup. So that's okay to click yes to. And then it's going to go through its process of getting all of your files and your databases backed up. This is training data that we have here. So there are a ton of report formats that you'll see it running through there. For example, when you run your backup, you're probably not going to have 1,400 files. That's all the many different report formats we work on here on our training data. Once that's done, go ahead and click OK. Once you close out of the backup data window, it is going to kick you completely out of the Church Windows program in a moment. Okay. Well, under normal circumstances, that's going to happen. When you're all set, you can go ahead and launch Church Windows again. And then we'll be ready to go ahead and run our end of year for the accounting module. And here we go, our opening screen in Church Windows. Let's go ahead and launch accounting. Okay, so from here, in order to open up a new year in the accounting module, you're going to want to go to your Special Functions tab right here along the top of your accounting screen. From here, there is a Manage Years menu. You can click here, and there's a whole bunch of different options on here. We're going to talk about changing to another existing accounting year in a minute here, but the one we want to do to open up a new year is clicking on this Set Up New Accounting Year option right here. It's going to take you to this window, Set Up New Accounting Year. There's two directions where you can go opening up a new year. You can open up a year prior to the first year if you want to fill in some blanks from years prior to you first installing Church Windows. You've got that option here. It's a very specific situation. Most of the time you're going to do this Create New Accounting Year option right up here at the top. Under normal circumstances, you're going to use this option below it where it says Copy Chart of Accounts. That's going to take your same chart of accounts that you used here in 2016. It's going to copy it forward to the 2017 year. You also have the option to bring your budgets forward as well. You have a whole bunch of different options for kind of working with your budgets in the 2017 year. That we're going to talk about here in a moment. So, it's up to you whether you're going to use the same budgets or not with that checkbox here. If you wanted to blow everything up and start from scratch next year, if you wanted to enter a brand new chart of accounts, enter brand new starting balances, and start everything from scratch, you would use this Create Empty Chart of Accounts option right here. It will ask you if you want to use account numbers and then kind of how that format is. Again, that's a very specific situation. You're probably not going to want to use that. You'll want to copy your chart of accounts forward to next year. Once you're all set with these options, just go ahead and click your OK button. Don't blink here, folks, because it does not take long. There we are in the 2017 year. You'll see it listed up here in the upper right-hand corner, January to December of 2017. From here, you are now all set to go. You're set to work in the 2017 year. I do want to take this moment to mention that, again, like I mentioned earlier, this doesn't lock you out of working in the 2016 year. Up here under the Special Functions tab along the top, you've got under your Manage Years button, you've got your change to another existing accounting year. So if you were to go and open your 2017 year today or this week, before you go ahead and start entering any new transactions or printing any reports back in the 2016 year, you're going to have to come back here to your Manage Years button. You're going to have to click your Change to Another Existing Accounting Year option right here at the top. This will allow you now. It brings you to your Select an Accounting Year on this screen right here, where you can click OK and it will flip you right back to the 2016 year. This allows you to do your work in 2016 while still having 2017 available for you to work in. That is all there is to opening up a new year for the accounting module. There's a couple of other topics we want to kind of quickly touch on here. I want to start with budgets. So one of the reasons that I mentioned that you'd want to open up your 2017 year would be so that you can start working on your next year budgets now. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to 2017 one more time by changing to another existing accounting year. Let's go to 2017. You'll see all of your years listed on the drop-down list here. When I click OK, we're back in 2017. There's a tab along the top of the screen called Budgets. If you click there, you've got several options that you can run on from there. If you simply click on the Budget button here, it's going to take you to this window, and this is your 2017 budgets. Because I clicked on the Copy Budgets button, all of my budgets from last year are going to be showing the same here. You'll see a listing of all of your income and expense accounts on this screen. There is a column here called Budgeted that will tell you whether you have set budgets for each of these individual accounts. And it lets you take a look here. So if I go to my general tithes and offerings income account, there is my budgets from last year. It's copied forward to this year. All of this stuff is editable at any time. So for example, if I did want to start budgeting for loose offering, I could do that. You simply highlight that income account, put a check mark next to budgeted. You can select whether it is an annual budget, which breaks it evenly out amongst the 12 months, whether it's a quarterly budget that breaks it out evenly amongst 3-month blocks, or whether you're going to budget separately each month of the entire year. So you just kind of go through here, and I'm going to just kind of fudge these a little bit, but whatever amounts you want to enter here, you can do that from here, etc. Okay, you'll see it's doing the math here under quarterly. It's doing the math for annual as you enter these in there. Once you're all set with that, there's no need to click a save button. You can simply move to a different account if you wanted to work somewhere else. Okay, so the other way that you can adjust your budgets in the new year would be by going to this budget projection option, which is the button in the center here at the top. It's going to give you this warning message. While this screen is open, you have exclusive access to editing accounts. That's really for networking users. So if somebody else is working in the accounting module at the same time, you may want to schedule some time where nobody else is working there so that you can do this. Just a little warning message that other folks will be locked out of being able to edit accounts while you're doing this. So what this window is going to do once it loads all of the budgets, it's going to show you all of the accounts that you have budgeted for. It's going to show you last year's budget, which you will see right here in this column right here, the prior year budget. It's going to show you in this column what the actual income or actual expense was for that particular account. And then it's got your projected budget over here. Projected budget would be the 2017 budget. Now, what does that mean and how do you work with it? Over here in the upper left-hand corner, this section over here, that area in the upper left, is where you work on that stuff. Let's say income is projected to be down a little bit for whatever reason. For example, you projected to have $316,000 in general tithes and offerings last year, and you only had $45,000. So maybe you are slightly overshooting your budget from last year. So you don't want to use the same budgets that you had last year for next year. What this allows you to do for income and separately for expense is to take what you had and either increase it or decrease it, either based on last year's budget or based on last year's actual income. So, for example, if I go decrease by 20% from last year's budget. If you watch the projected budget column over here on the right side, when I click on View Projection, it's going to adjust my budget for this year. If you wanted to adjust based on last year's actual income, you can also do that. Let's say we're feeling more positive. We're going to increase by 20%. You'll see those numbers adjusted on the column on the right. Again, you can do that separately for income and expense budgets. Okay? Alrighty. Once you are set, if you don't want to keep these, you can simply discard them by clicking Cancel and Close in the upper right-hand corner. But if you do want to set your budgets that way for the 2017 year, you can click on your Save and Close button. And it's going to make your budgets equal to what they are listed here under Projected Budget. Now, one last little note about that. Because you are making this change, you still have the ability to go back to that other budgets window we were just looking at a moment ago and make changes individually. So once this is done saving, it's a pretty big function. It's got to edit all of those budgets for all of those accounts. After you've done that, you still have the ability here to come into the budget screen and edit them individually. So if I did want to make changes that aren't these sort of overall changes for the entire group of income or expense accounts, you can change them kind of more granularly there. All right. Now, a couple of other points here. I hope everybody can hear me. I did get one message that somebody lost audio. Everything on my end appears that I'm still being broadcast. Hopefully everybody can still hear me. I'm going to go ahead and go forward as if we're still being broadcast properly here. So we're running a little short on time, so I need to cover the two other topics before we're all set to go for the day. I mentioned earlier that you are still able to work in the 2016 year, even if you opened up 2017. So like I was mentioning, I can go to change to another existing accounting year, roll back to 2016. I can still enter and pay bills. I can still enter income. I can still transfer donations into accounting in the 2016 year. But the thing, and this is a very important point, I want to make sure everybody gets this part of the message. When you make changes in the 2016 year, it does not automatically push those totals forward into the 2017 year. If I enter bills or pay bills or do any transactions, the beginning balances in 2017 will be unchanged until you perform this function. So anytime you make changes in the 2016 year, or really honestly, before you start making new transactions in the 2017 year, you'll want to make sure that you carry your beginning balances forward. And you do that by going to your 2017 year, which I'm going to do here. And this function here under special functions is this one right here. Update beginning balances from prior accounting year ending balances. That's this right here. So again, your beginning balances here in 2017 are going to be the same that they were when you ran your end of year the first time. So if you go back into 2016 and change any of your totals, you will have to come back to 2017, go to Special Functions, Manage Years, and update beginning balances from prior accounting year ending balances. This takes all of your all of your asset accounts, your liability accounts, and your fund balance accounts, and makes their beginning balance equal to the ending balances from 2016 as they stand right now. Okay, that's not an automated thing where they're all carried forward automatically. So you just click yes, and it's going to change your beginning balances here in 2017 to match where you ended back in 2016. Okay. Really quickly, if you want to get documentation on the topics I covered here today, I'm going to take us out to our website at churchwindows.com. Let me show you where you can get a basically printed documentation for what we covered here in our webinar today. I opened the wrong browser. Let me go here. So here is our Church Windows website. If you scroll down the page here, on the left side of the screen underneath this heading for support, you're going to see New Year Prep and Help. So clicking on this topic right here takes you to our end of year preparation and help page. Over here, if you scroll down a little bit, the end of year and New Year prep documents, you will see the accounting New Year prep steps right here, accounting New Year steps. That's basically the document I worked from for our webinar here today. So that's what I got for you, folks. It's just a matter of making 2017 available, copying your chart of accounts forward, and working on your budgets. Again, you can go ahead and go do that anytime now. So that's all I got for you today, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and if you're all set to get on with your day, feel free to go ahead and click on the X in the upper right-hand corner of your GoToWebinar control panel, and you can go ahead and move on with it. Go freshen up your cup of coffee. Thanks so much for joining me for folks who are going on here. So for everyone else, we've had several questions kind of roll in here today. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of those. Okay. So Greg asked about making sure your invoices are marked as paid. The reason that the documentation talks about making sure that your invoices as well as your bills are properly marked as paid is because if you opened up 2017, you would then have to roll back to 2016 to mark them as paid. It's not a permanent consequence. It's just inconvenient to have to roll back to the prior year and mark them properly as paid. You're not locked out of it permanently. It just means you have to roll your year back and pay, and mark them as paid or mark your invoices as having been paid. Of course, if you enter a bill in December of 2016 and you don't pay it until January of 2017, you just do that the way you normally do it. That part of the documentation is just talking about if a bill or an invoice does not get properly marked as having been paid. Okay.